On the 29th of December, 2013, during a live Sunday service at the Synagogue Church of All Nations, Prophet T.B. Joshua prophesied about the nation, Russia. He revealed that their leader would face opposition, and that an impending war was coming their way. In light of the prophecy, Prophet T.B. Joshua also prompted everyone around the world to pray for the nation of Russia. These were his words.
In the mighty name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Pray for the nation Russia, because I'm seeing war is coming against them. I don't know where the war come from. Their leader will face opposition.
A better world sometimes means tearing the old one down, and that makes enemies.
Let's remember here, the people we are fighting today, we funded 20 years ago.
Fast. Strong. Had a metal arm.
Are you ready? People are gonna die. I can't let that happen.
Captain America needs my help.
When do we start?
The price of freedom's high. And it's a price I'm willing to pay. This is how it ends. Everything goes.
Looks like you're giving the orders now, Captain.
Damn right.
That's it, boys. This is what we waited for.
Boom.
Bombing in Afghanistan. I said, are we still going to war with Iraq? And he said, oh, it's worse than that. He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper. He said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today. And he said, this is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
Now, Albert Pike wrote a letter to Mancini, and that was dated August 15, 1871, in which he propagated that there should be a world order, a one order where all nations are under the control of one central organization. He said, and this was, by the way, on display in the British Museum and could be seen there until it was taken away. The First World War, to overthrow the power of the Tsars in Russia, protector of orthodoxy, and bring about an atheistic communistic state. Did that happen? Yes. Now that was written long before this event. Long before this event. This was written in 1871. This war broke out in 1914. The Second World War, that's also written long before the event, to originate between Great Britain and Germany, to strengthen communism as antithesis to the Judeo-Christian culture, and bring about a Zionist state in Israel. Did it achieve this objective? Yes. In fact, after this war, Israel, in its present form, was reinstated under the protection of Britain. And then, interestingly enough, a Third World War, a Middle Eastern war involving Judaism and Islam, and spreading internationally. That's fascinating. Is that on the cards, or what do you think?
I frankly think that crisis initiation is really tough. And it's very hard for me to see how the United States president can get us to war with Iran. Which leads me to conclude that if, in fact, compromise is not coming, that the traditional way of America gets to war is what would be best for U.S. interests. Some people might think that Mr. Roosevelt wanted to get us into World War II, as David mentioned. You may recall we had to wait for Pearl Harbor. Some people might think Mr. Wilson wanted to get us into World War I. You may recall he had to wait for the Lusitania episode. Some people might think that Mr. Johnson wanted to send troops to Vietnam. You may recall he had to wait for the Gulf of Tonkin episode. We didn't go to war with Spain until until the Maine exploded. And may I point out that Mr. Lincoln did not feel he could call out the Federal Army until Fort Sumter was attacked, which is why he ordered the commander at Fort Sumter to do exactly that thing which the South Carolinians had said would cause an attack. So if, in fact, the Iranians aren't going to compromise, it would be best if somebody else started the war. One can combine other means of pressure with sanctions. I mentioned that explosion on August 17th. We could step up the pressure. I mean, look, people, Iranian submarines periodically go down. Someday one of them might not come up. Who would know why? We can do a variety of things if we wish to increase the pressure. I'm not advocating that, but I'm just suggesting that this is not a either-or proposition. Of, you know, it's just sanctions has to succeed or other things. We are in the game of using covert means against the Iranians.
Mazzini with Pike developed a plan for 3 world wars so that eventually every nation would be willing to surrender its national sovereignty to a world government. The first war was to end the Tsarist regime in Russia, the second to allow the Soviet Union to control Europe, the third world war was to be in the Middle East between Muslim and Jews and would result in Armageddon. Interesting.
We funded, armed, and trained al-Qaeda in Afghanistan the same way that we're currently funding, arming, and training al-Qaeda in Syria right now, and for the same reasons. Osama bin Laden was literally on the CIA's payroll. We even know his code name, Tim Osman. The documents are declassified. This isn't rocket science, people. This information is easily available to the public if you're willing to do a little of your own research. Let's look at another example. In 1980, the U.S. funded and armed Saddam Hussein to assist in his invasion of Iran. We gave him missile technology, chemical weapons precursors, and biological weapons. The same weapons that he used against the Kurds. The U.S. government knew full well what he was doing, and yet they said nothing. That is, until they needed an excuse to invade 20 years later. That's when it was convenient to build up his boogeyman status, to puff up the American population with a strange mixture of fear and bravado. Of course, this charade has been going on long before America's War of Terror. The previous boogeyman was communism, that red menace that was spreading across the globe like cancer. Our only hope was to drop democracy, freedom, and napalm all over the world.
It's clearly an effort on his part to reassert control over what he sees as part of the old Soviet Union.
The recent Gallup poll thought that most Americans think that the world perceives him as weak. Do you perceive him as weak? There was a lot of criticism in the years that you and President Bush were in office, that you guys were too aggressive. Of course, you had to respond to 9/11, but do you think this president, do you think he's perceived by leaders in the Middle East, in Russia, elsewhere in the world as being a weak president when it comes to national security?
Yes, I do. I hear from some of those people. I'm still in touch with a lot of the governments that I dealt with over the years. Excuse me. And I know for a fact that they don't believe he will keep his commitments or back up his rhetoric. Syria was a classic example that turned a lot of people off.
All right, Mr. Vice President, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order.
Most people can't wrap their head around the fact that Russia could be a part of this whole thing, this new world order. They don't want to believe it. They can't believe it. Well, I'm here to tell you that this whole world is a stage, whether you want to believe it or not, and that every world leader is in on this. And if they're not, they go in, they topple them, they throw up a puppet regime with somebody that will represent them. Okay, that's what you've seen them doing through Egypt, Libya, all over the place. Okay, going in and toppling the people that don't want to stand with the New World Order. So as you can see here, last night Putin and Merkel were talking, Merkel representing the beast EU system that is backed by the Fourth Reich, German Catholic, Roman Catholic Church. As you can see here, if most of you can't see how scripted all of this is, how played out, how mirrored, how theatrical this is, it's right there in front of you. They rub it right in your face. You have to have the eyes to see that this is all about sun worship, and it goes back ancient. I've said it time and time again. This comes down to the empire of the city that you see right here. And some may say, well, what about Russia? Russia is no exception. St. Petersburg. People better wake up quick. All of these people are involved with this new world order. And as you can see right here, the proof. Cardinal Scola was very happy in the forthcoming meeting between Francis and Vladimir Putin, which he describes as a fundamental point of reference for the building of this new world order. He says that Putin is a key reference point for the construction of this new world order. So if you're wondering where this new world order beast out of your book of Revelation in your Bible is coming from, you're looking at it. They all answer to this man, George Mario Bergoglio. That is his real name, Peter the Roman. And interestingly enough, you can find the words Gog and Magog both within his name. Now, speaking of Gog, Putin just got done exchanging icons of Mary. For those of you that don't think by now that he is in on this, he is. He answers to the same man that all of these, Kerry, Obama, Netanyahu, all answer to this man, the White Pope. They bow down before him in their sacrifice of the sun worship. The man that you were looking at is the most powerful man on this planet. He is the Jesuit general leader of the Holy Roman Catholic Church. This is who the White Pope Francis answers to. This man is the military muscle on the planet for Sir Lucifer that he answers to. They are the ones that are pushing this whole neo-Nazi propaganda. And if you go looking, guys, you're going to see it just about everywhere. They're reporting on it all over the place. Neo-Nazi, which is a word that's been basically taboo in the mainstream media because they don't want people to see it for what it is. Now, this is very interesting. The people of the Ukraine in the streets have caught this right-wing Svobodo neo-Nazi movement in the street, and they've rounded them up. This is an amazing video. Check it out. These are all neo-Nazis. They have live ammunition. You're going to see them holding up a round in this video. They have caught these guys infiltrating the protest, acting like normal people, and firing rounds. This is what sparked the whole war. These neo-Nazis, I said it before, and here's your proof. And it's all over the place. Go looking. I'll leave all of these links. The U.S. has been busted, and you're not going to hear it on the mainstream media. The Secretary of State came out from the Ukraine, who's also part of this Svobodo neo-Nazi party, and said that Washington supports it hugely. They have invested more than $5 billion to help the Ukraine to achieve these goals. They're busted. So now, we're going to go back in time. Y'all remember that? Well, what you see right here is the proof. This link alone is the icing on the cake. That once you complete this whole video and go through all these links and you're trying to awaken yourself to what's really happening here, this shows you exactly what has taken place by date. All of these attacks, okay, where all of this has escalated. Now, December 9th, EU pro-Catholic EU terrorists armed with weapons take and occupy City Hall there in Ukraine. Now, Putin had announced that Moscow would buy $15 billion worth of the Ukrainian government bonds and allow for a sharp drop in the price of Ukrainians' pay for Russians' natural gas. They were going to hook them up. This is even after they got caught stealing off of Russia. Okay? siphoning gas. This announcement infuriated the Catholic Church. On January 22nd, 2 protesters died for being hit by Catholic Church terrorists. Now, they all came out of their post here that were in the Ukraine. These were Orthodox churches that were there that had basically been packed wall to wall with these neo-Nazi youth. And they sent them out on their mission to do exactly that. Divide the country, pull a false flag event, fire the first shots, cause confusion, and storm and raid the presidential palace, which is what they did. Okay? Every country has their differences, okay, throughout history. I've watched all of these revolutions start off peaceful, like Egypt, like Libya, and I've watched them get infiltrated by the CIA and Vatican foot soldiers. And it all comes back to the Vatican. This is who they answer to. Some of you just cannot wrap it around your head. I know it's a hard pill to swallow, especially if you're trying to take all this in. But I'm telling you this right now. These Vatican neo-Nazi foot soldiers entangled with the CIA, they're all hand in hand here, guys. They all work for the beast, for one main objective. And this whole thing, in the end, is sun worship.
You will give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards. They will race behind you. They will stumble. They will fall. But in time, they will join you in the sun.